On September 30, 1941, Germany launched an offensive against Moscow. Hitler's plans to seize the Soviet capital before the approaching winter were seriously disrupted by the battle for Smolensk, which lasted 2 months. In the Battle of Smolensk, Germany inflicted a serious defeat on the defending units and formations of the Red Army. The forces of Army Group Center, with a total strength of about 2 million servicemen, including 72, and according to other sources 78 divisions, were concentrated in the Moscow direction. The Army Group was armed with about 2,000 tanks and self-propelled artillery units, 14,000 artillery pieces and mortars, 780 aircraft. For the defense of the capital, Stalin concentrated the forces of several fronts. Only the Western, Reserve and Bryansk fronts numbered 1,250,000 people by September 30, 1941. Practically all the forces that the Red Army had in the area of the capital were thrown into the defense of Moscow. The civilian population was mobilized to build fortifications. There were catastrophically not enough forces to defend the capital. There were more than 3,500 cadets in Podolsk military schools. They were mostly yesterday's schoolchildren, as well as young people who were selected for short-term training with subsequent production to command ranks and sent to the front as platoon commanders. On October 5, 1941, the personnel of the infantry and artillery schools located in Podolsk near Moscow were alerted. And it was they, the young Podolsk cadets who had just begun to master military professions, who performed an impressive feat, restraining the onslaught of the selected Hitlerite armies. A group of German motorized infantry on motorcycles and armored cars arrived in the area of the river Izver. The attack of paratroopers and cadets of the infantry school caught the Nazis by surprise. The enemy managed to be thrown far beyond the river. Hitler's command got its bearings quickly enough. Air raids began, then artillery shelling, and then German tanks moved to the positions of the Podolsk cadets. But the cadets held the defense. Long-term firing points and long-term wood and earth firing points were equipped, which allowed cadets to conduct active fire on the enemy, causing serious damage to equipment and personnel. On October 13, desperate to break the resistance of the cadets in a frontal attack, the Nazi command came up with a deceptive maneuver. The tanks went to the rear under red flags to create the appearance of their own. But the cadets quickly understood the essence of what was happening and were able to destroy the advancing enemy tanks. On October 15, Major General Smirnov, seeing the difficult situation of the 3rd Battalion of Cadets, put forward his reserve to help him. The cadets ran out of ammunition and had to go to the Nazis in a bayonet attack. On October 16, the Nazis again struck a serious blow at the Alyansky combat area. At first, tanks and artillery guns suppressed the firing points of the cadets. However, near the village of Sergeyevka, one of the well-camouflaged firing points was never discovered by the Germans. Cadet Belev, who commanded the calculation of the 45mm cannon, managed to knock out several enemy combat vehicles. The Germans surrounded the point and attacked from the rear, throwing grenades through the embrasure. Almost all the defenders died. On October 17, it was necessary to withdraw the command post of the consolidated detachment to the village of Lukyanovo. On October 18, the Nazis began to attack the command post, and here, from the remnants of the 5th and 8th Cadet Companies, they organized the defense of the village of Lukyanovo. Only on October 20, the cadets began to withdraw from the defense line, and on October 25 they were taken to the rear to further advance their studies. The schools were temporarily transferred to Ivanovo. Out of 3,500 people, only about 500 people remained in the ranks. Approximately 2,500 cadets and commanders of Podolsk military schools died in battles with superior enemy forces. Since the bodies of the dead remained on the battlefields until December 1941–January 1942, when they were buried, most of the dead cadets were never identified and were listed as missing. Podolsk cadets destroyed about 5,000 German soldiers and officers, 100 tanks and armored personnel carriers. While the offensive of the enemy forces was being held back, it was possible to create and strengthen a new line of defense and bring reserves. Those of the Podolsk cadets and commanders who were lucky enough to survive in the defense of Moscow, subsequently fought on the fronts of the Great Patriotic War.